jump up, people, are you ready?
Well, whoever said that Test cricket was boring, you got it wrong. We have a big test on our hands, and the West Indies have got to come from behind to try and win it or square it. Hello, everyone. Welcome again to On Tour. It's the cricket programme where we look back at the Sri Lanka tour of the West Indies. Test number 1, first day. Sri Lanka bowled up for 169. We were all saying, this could very well be a 3-day kind of test match. Well, let me tell you, Sri Lanka putting up an exceptionally good fight on day 4, setting the West Indies a target now of 375 to win. Let's have a look at the scorecard. As I said, Sri Lanka 169 all out, and then 476 after resuming on 255 for 4. That was set by Pathum Nissanka's 103 on debut. He picks up a century. Only the 4th Sri Lankan to score a century on debut, and the first to ever do it outside of Sri Lanka. Commendations to him. Nirashan Dickwella, he should have also picked up a century. He got 96, fell 4 runs short, and they put on 179 for the 6th wicket, which is what really dented the West Indies on day 4. Of course, Fernando got 91 and Thiramani 76. And we also saw Dhananjaya, he got 50 runs in a pretty brisk innings as well. And quite naturally, Roach again leading the bowling, 3 for 74. And Rakeem Cornwall cleaning up the tail, 3 for 137. Kyle Mears yesterday, he took 2 for 24. The Windies set that victory target of 375. I think they're going to need Brian Lara that to get that mark of 375. They have already lost an early wicket. They've lost Campbell cheaply, and they have the captain there, Craig Brathwaite, along with Nkrumah Bonner. They're 34 for 1. So going into day 5, the Windies need 341 more runs. The Sri Lankans, they need to pick up 9 wickets. Well, we got a big day on our hands. Look how this test match has turned on its head. Phil Wallace, the former Barbados and West Indies opening batsman. Sir Clive Lloyd, the former Ghana and West Indies captain. And our BBC correspondent is Johnny Barron. Let me start with you today first, Johnny. You got the numbers in terms of chasing, but you also have the numbers in terms of Sri Lanka coming from behind to win test matches. How do you see it?
Yeah, certainly Sri Lanka hold all the aces, having had a pretty ropey first couple of days, but a very good second couple of days, shall we say. But as far as the chase is concerned for the West Indies, well, it would need to be their 3rd biggest chase in their history. It would be the 9th biggest chase overall. And in fact, they've actually chased down 300 plus 7 times. That's only second to Australia, who have 9 chases in all. But it's a very, very tall ask, you feel, for the West Indies. The main target tomorrow is to get out of this game with a draw, pack their bags and come back refreshed for the second test.
So, Sir Clive, have the West Indies really blown their chances? What went wrong for them on day 4?
Barry, you see, I had bowlers that if the wicket where the pitch is not, responding as well, they bowl a line, length, and bowl to a defensive field. And the point is that catching is important. And especially if the wicket is not helping, you need to take your catches. And at some of those catches, they probably would have had less runs to chase. And I didn't like they just sort of looked like yesterday they're bowling quite pedestrian. And I thought that because the wicket was not responsive, they didn't put in that effort. And I'm accustomed to guys there, if the wicket is not helping, that's when you have to really, knuckle down and try and make the batsman uncomfortable. But I didn't see it. They were just like we were playing for time, sort of thing.
Phil Wallace, 341 more runs, 9 wickets, or a draw. Which one do you fancy?
341 more runs, Barry. I would fancy a West Indies to draw this game. That's the truth. I think they have to knuckle down. I think they have to learn from the Sri Lankan batsmen quite quickly how to apply themselves and look at the game situation awareness. When you look at the way we started in our second innings, obviously we've lost John Campbell again. And there's a question if the selectors are going to continue to play John Campbell. Because you cannot have an opening batsman who's not playing the new ball well. He's playing the new ball on the move. And once you're playing the new ball on the move, you're going to edge it more often than not. And he's a big setback. First since we saw him bat very long, over 150 balls for 40 yards. And the second innings, we just saw a different John Campbell looking to bat on ball when you should be looking to survive. So the the second innings target is going to be a long way away. Can we repeat Bangladesh? It's going to be a little difficult because this surface is a lot different to Bangladesh, but it's going to call for good batsmanship and good skills because the Sri Lankans are going to come running at us with their pacers, and obviously the slow bowlers that should be more effective on this surface. So it's going to call for top batsmanship for West Indies to save this one, or even go on to win it.
Well, look, let's get right into it. Pathum Nissanka. We saw this man look so promising in the one-day internationals. And what we saw today was a top innings. 103, 152, 252 deliveries. He only struck 6 fours. His patience was the key and the hallmark of his innings. Johnny Barron, talk to me about this 22-year-old from Gaul, Pathum Nissanka.
Well, we've been talking a little bit about Nissanka all the way through the course of this tour. His first-class stats are absolutely staggering. He averages 67 in the first-class game. He's got 1300s and 1350s, so a good conversion rate already in the first-class game. But then to score 100 in these circumstances in your first test was absolutely fantastic. I thought he batted beautifully all the way. To be honest, he just hit the gaps nicely. It was a measured innings. He didn't really go after the ball through the course of the innings. A really impressive innings by this young man. And this Sri Lankan top order, not to be underestimated, they've got 5 players with averages of 36 or more in Test cricket. And that is pretty good when you look at the contemporary Test match game.
So, Clive, you have seen many great batsmen in your time. What is the hallmark of this young man from Sri Lanka? Why is he being able to have those powers of concentration?
Well, I think I told you yesterday about the Sri Lankan guys, how well they're coached. You can see this fella's got the right attitude. He concentrates well. He places the ball well. He's a complete player. And you don't have that sort of average if you're not a good player. And I think he's one to watch for the future. And I think there are a couple of more like them. I mean, they're all in the high 30s, so they're very good cricketers. And I think the West Indies, will have to try and work very hard to get these guys out because they look like they don't give up the wicket easily.
Phil, you say that, and then you look at the partnership that he had along with Nirishan Dickwella. They put on 179 for the 6th wicket. The West Indies had the early breakthrough that they wanted, but that was just about it. After that, it was goodnight nurse. Did the West Indies bowlers, did the captain, were they too laid back, Phil Wallace, in that partnership? Because it seemed to me that it allowed Sri Lanka then to take their time and dictate the pace of the game rather than take the game to the Sri Lankans. Talk to me about Dickwella and this big partnership.
Well, Barry, the West Indies got what they wanted. They had an early breakthrough. But I think the new ball was the right choice. But then the problem was who to bowl the new ball. Either the captain went by Alzari, who got the breakthrough, but then there's that guy called Shannon Gabriel. I thought that he could have shared the new ball with Alzari and bring that extra pace. But when you look at Dickwella, I like Dickwella. I think he's a very good wicketkeeper batsman. He reminds me of Richard Pant, but not as flamboyant. But he's aggressive. When that first wicket, the fall of the first wicket, he just walked in and he looked in control. And obviously Nissanka, they built a very good partnership and they had good understanding, good running between the wickets, which is important. But the way in which Dickwella negotiated that second new ball shows that he has a lot of class, and I have a lot of time for him. And he's very assertive as well in his stroke play. He's no slouch, Dickwella. And if you look at even the T20 games, he was moving up and down that order, and he fitted in quite well. So he too has understanding, and Mr. Clive, they're well coached and they understand the game. And another problem is that they don't speak English, so the West Indians don't know what they're saying. So they have a very good plan. And I tell you, Mark, sometimes you play a game, when you're playing against teams that guys are not speaking English, it confuses you. So they know what they're doing.
Because you don't know what they're thinking. Yeah.
They don't know what they're thinking. And I think that Dickwella has come in and he's played a gem of an innings. It's sad that he didn't go on to score 100. He has a lot of 50s in Test match cricket, but I think he's something special for Sri Lanka. And I hope one day he can get a Test 100 and go on to score many more. He is the perfect fall today at the fall of that wicket so early this morning.
I just want to go through a couple of quirks throughout the day with you, Johnny Barron. There was a review when Roach did a review. It was a obvious not out to me. It looked to me like the ball came off at the inside edge. That was one quirk that the West Indies didn't get right. They didn't get that review right. Opportunity that went a begging. And then Sakai spoke about the drop catch. Bonner dropped an easy one. Dickwella was only on 45 when he put down the simple catch.
Yeah. Firstly, the review. Craig Brathwaite didn't want anything to do with it whatsoever, but Roach was absolutely convinced. And of course, the TV replays in slow motion demonstrated that it was an inside edge onto pad. And well, as far as the drop catches are concerned, that big one of Tiramani yesterday on 18, that would have been 38 for 2 Sri Lanka. And well, the one-off holder today was a real grubber, wasn't it? And huge disappointment for Bonner and for Holder.
We also had a very strange situation where Roach hit the stumps of Dickwella with a bouncer, but the Bills, they just did not, they weren't dislodged. And obviously, if that doesn't happen, he's not out. What about that? Opportunity again going begging for the West Indies?
Yeah, it clattered into the stumps as well. A very interesting quirk, actually, because had the back of the helmet have hit the stumps and broken the stumps, that wouldn't have been out under the new regulations with that new piece that they've added, of course, at the back of the helmet. But if the ball knocks over the stumps, that's good night. And an interesting thing about Dickwella, he's now got a world record for the most 50s without 100 in Test cricket. Not a world record they want to hang on to.
All right, thank you. We're going to come back with much more. We've got the West Indies bowlers to analyse, and we also have, of course, John Campbell to come under the microscope, and the captaincy of Craig Brathwaite. Everyone was up in arms and happy when things were going the West Indies' way. Now they're not. I'm seeing some signs from the fans that they're not happy again. We're going to come back right here on Tour of FlowSports.
To the top, it's time to jump up. People, are you ready? Windies in the land, just put up your hand. It's time to...
Welcome back then to On Tour. Sir Clive Lloyd, I come straight to you. We saw the bowling of Rakeem Cornwall. He cleaned up the tail. He got 3 for like 137. But many people felt, the commentators throughout the day were saying that they thought he did not have much variation with his off-spin bowling. How would you respond to such a comment? And, what more can he do to have that kind of variation as an off-spinner?
Well, I thought yesterday he didn't sort of, the ball, he wasn't turning it at all. He wasn't really causing any problems. But this guy's bowled 40 odd overs. And, your fingers have got to be tired. And so I think that we need some variety. We don't have enough variety where the spin department is concerned. We have... if we're calling on another spinner, we call on Blackwood, and he bowls spin just like the off spin just like the captain. We need some variety, and probably I don't know if they're looking at it now. If their left arm spinner might have been something that they should be looking at. Probably in the next game, but really and truly, that I think Cornwall has done his job. He bowls a half of the amount of overs that you have to bowl in a day. So really, he's not doing badly, but it's obvious that he got to get more purchase. He got a lot in the first innings, and I suppose that's when they got the help. But then this has just flattened out. So he held his own, I suppose. When you think of it, 41 overs, 3 for what, 130?
137.
So, you really can't say he's not doing his job properly. But I still think that we need our bowlers, our fast bowlers, have got to be a little bit more aggressive. Not because the wicket looks slow. If you put your some back into it, you might get something. But the guys are just there, just playing it and we look like we're just waiting for something to happen instead of creating something.
Philo, there's no doubt about it. Kemo Roach was our best bowler, 3 for 74. We looked at a couple of his wickets and opportunities. But, we also saw that Kyle Mears is 2 for 24. We were surprised he didn't bowl a bit more for the West Indies.
Yeah, I think that they need to look at Kyle Mears a bit more in detail with his bowling. I think he's a better bowler than just 9 overs. He picked up 2 good wickets yesterday, and I thought that Captain Craig Brathwaite could have persisted with him a bit more. And even today, tried to get him in a bit earlier with that half new ball. because he needs to be encouraged. I think that he is the guy that we can look to go to run at people. I think he and Jason Holder can combine quite well for that double seam position. Because there's going to be a problem in the next test match for Shannon Gabriel. I can't see Shannon Gabriel playing in the next test match at all. So I believe that Kyle Mears needs to be utilized a bit more with his bowling. And obviously, Captain Braffett will be sitting down with the coach and the bowling coach as well and going through these kind of discussions for the next test match. Because he certainly is an asset in West Indies cricket at the moment, Kyle Mears.
I asked you this question earlier and we discussed John Campbell. I'm going to put it to you. I'm also going to put it to Sir Clive Lloyd. What is the problem with John Campbell technique-wise? You opened the batting pretty well for the West Indies, Phil, from Barbados, but there obviously seems to be some technical difficulty with this young man from Jamaica.
John Campbell has no balance when he's playing the new ball, Barry. He plays the new ball on the walk. We saw in the first innings, he tried really hard to get into position and line the ball up, which is good. But then he didn't execute the shot. So he batted a lot of balls for 40-odd runs. In the second innings, he tried to be aggressive. And obviously, he didn't look at the match situation and team situation. He should not be looking to play so many big shots. He was quite lucky when he pulled out the length ball, and obviously the ball was ruling to go over the top. And he needs to be a bit more patient. He has no balance. I would like to know what our batting consultant, Monty Desai, is doing with these men. Because we had Toby Radford before, now we have him. And we're not seeing no improvements in our batsmen. There's technical flaws. Bonner also has a technical flaw. His left foot doesn't come out to the pitch of the ball. If the ball is going to nip around Bonner, it's going to be a candidate for slip and wicketkeeper. But John Campbell has no balance at all when he's batting. And he's looking to play a lot of power shots, grew up in Jamaica, not being able to adjust. But he's played 14 test matches. And these are things that our selectors really need to sit down and nail. Are we going to continue with a guy who is either very defensive or ultra attacking with nothing in between?
Who is the option? If you had to pick an option right now, who would you go for?
Barry is a big gamble. You can look to, well, the only other option is to bring up Joshua De Silva up to the top of the order. Because obviously, Shane Mosley has some deficiencies as well. Again, basic deficiencies where his head goes off to the offside and he's off balance. And the bowlers will bowl at Shane Mosley's front pad. So in this present setup, you will either have to bring Joshua De Silva up to the top of the order. I don't know where Shea Hope is. He hasn't played any red ball cricket. So you can't even say you can bring him into the squad because then you're going to be leapfrogging your whole system. So the only option is to bring Joshua De Silva up to the top of the order. But to open batting and keep wicket at test match level is very, very difficult. They will have to persist with John Campbell for the second test match. But the batting consultant need to do some serious work with him and get him ready. When he got up to there, I would have took him into the nets.
And Sir Clive, what says you to that? I mean, Phil Wallace quite detailed there in his analysis.
The point is, Barry, this guy's a front foot player. And he's playing, if you're playing in your front foot, that means that you're committing yourself early. And that is why he has to play at balls that just there. If he's on his back foot, I've seen all the great openers play, and the first movement is back and across, and you pick in your lineup and length and playing. But if you're committing yourself and somebody is fairly sharp, you'll be in trouble. And I think that is, and he's being beaten for pace now and then because he's playing at balls that, he doesn't have to play at. So I think that a bit of work in the nets with a bowling machine, and these are things that these guys should be doing at the academy, not when you're in a test match, And I think that is where we were falling down. If you look around the world, we seem to be the last to get test centuries. All the other countries seem to. A young fella comes through, he has 200s. In the West, we seem to be taking too long to get to the top of the tree where hundreds are concerned. And I think if our wickets are like they are, we should be making more hundreds. So it doesn't speak well of our 4-day cricket, and probably the people who are working with them. They must be able to work out these, little problems that they have at an earlier stage. and not having to correct them when we promoted them into a test match.
All right. Well, speaking of the person who should be talking about these efficiencies, when we come back on Flow Sports, we're going to hear from the batting coach for the first time, Monty Desai, and we also hear from a little bit from Nishan Dikwala. Stay with us.
Windies in the land, just put up your hand. It's time to party. Turn it up to the top. It's time to jump up. People, are you ready? Windies in the land, just put up your hand. It's time to party.
Welcome back then to On Tour. We've been talking about him, Monty Desai, the batting coach of the West Indies. Let's hear from him, and then right after that, we'll also hear from Nishan Dikwala.
So on a batting-friendly pitch, what do you think the West Indies batsmen need to do tomorrow?
Look, one of the things which becomes very important in test matches is it's the 5-day game. And the way we take a lot of pride now is to prepare for 15 rounds. What I mean by 15 rounds is 5 days of test match. Knowing for the fact that, we were on the field for such a long period, but we take a lot of pride. I'm very keen and excited about the fact that our batting unit now needs to bat on day 5. And that is what we are meant for as a test team. So I'm just looking forward to it. Hopefully, the important part of that will be how we start in the morning again. I think Craigie and Bonner did a good job to make sure that we didn't lose any more wickets.
Obviously, there'll be assessments going on throughout the match tomorrow. But at this stage, do you think that the team is thinking about a win, or are we just looking to bat out the overs?
I wouldn't say either of those two questions which you have put it across. I think at the moment the way to look at it is that we want to take it one ball at a time. So like I said, once we come in the morning, we'll be preparing with the intent of batting appropriately. More importantly, also responding to the loose balls to cash onto it. The first 20 was going to be important, how we dictate the whole game.
It was crucial when I went to the wicket because Dhananjay fell early. In the first over, I had to rebuild a partnership, especially after getting out for 32 in the first inning. I had to prove myself in these conditions, how to battle and get some runs. And Pathum played a huge role in that partnership because he was rotating strike and he didn't stuck. He was not stuck in the crease. So we were just wanted to rotate the strike and build a small partnership. Just wanted to play the first hour and see how it will go.
All right, gentlemen, in 30 seconds, win for the West Indies, win for Sri Lanka, a draw, or a historic tie test. I'm being facetious. Let me start with you, Philo. You're scratching your head. What is the option on day 5? What is the result on day 5, I should say?
Well, but it's difficult to call a result on day 5. And you look at West Indies coming out to Bangladesh, they chased down a massive total, and they won that test match. When you look at what they have ahead of them, there's no devils in the pitch at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium. It just calls for application from the batsmen. And I think that once the batsmen can apply themselves, just not look to survive, but look to bat and score runs, I think West Indies can either draw this match, or if they bat really well, they can win because they can put pressure on Sri Lanka. But if they don't bat well, Sri Lanka obviously are going to win this test match. So it's up to the West Indies batsmen how well they want to do now in order to save some face, not be disgraced, and make people believe that Bangladesh is a fluke. I believe Bangladesh was no fluke. So I'm going to put my support behind West Indies side to save this game or even win it.
What do you say to that, Johnny Barron?
Well, the key for the West Indies tomorrow is a nice quiet start, to be honest. Then they've got to cope with Embaldenia through the course of the day. That'll be absolutely critical. And then the final piece in the jigsaw will be the state of the game when that second new ball is available for Sri Lanka tomorrow evening. Could be a fascinating finish. About a 30% chance, 35% chance, the stats tell me, of West Indies escaping with a draw.
All right, and last but not least, Sir Clive Lloyd, your final thoughts on what will happen on day 5?
Well, the point is that we've put ourselves in this situation, really, when we should have had the upper hand. But the point is that we have 94 overs to face. If we do not lose any wickets by lunch, then it could be very interesting day. And if we don't win this game, we want to draw it because really and truly, they played well in the first innings. Every day it was a different situation for both teams, and I feel that it could be quite interesting once we don't lose early wickets.
Thank you so much. Well, look, all the action starts in just a minute, live on Flow Sports. If you cannot watch it, ensure you watch our highlight show on tour. We'll be back tomorrow to tell you what will happen with the West Indies. Will they win? Will they draw? Or Sri Lanka? Or are they going to come from behind to upset them? I'm Barry Wilkinson. Until tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.
Jump up, people, are you ready?